Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Justin Hiltner. Welcome to a new edition of Live with Bluegrass Pride. We're so glad you're here. We're going to give a few minutes here for all the folks to join us for today's show. We've really enjoyed having these opportunities to join with all of you, with our membership, with our fans and followers, albeit virtually through the pandemic. If you're not familiar, Bluegrass Pride, we're a 501c3 dedicated to uplifting LGBTQ folks in roots music and beyond. And since October, we've been using these virtual showcases every month to reinforce that mission and to do it in a way that invites all of you to share with us, share with some conversation and chatting, and also some really excellent world-class music. Live with Bluegrass Pride is a fundraiser. It's, again, about that mission of uplifting LGBTQ folks. We really want to have a direct impact on the working lives of musicians and artists who are queer and allied in roots music. And so that means that this is a work opportunity. So when we invite all of you to come to this space and to join us, it's open to any and all for free. But if you're able, we would really appreciate it if you would give the suggested $25 donation. Those funds go to Lisa Liu, our guest today, but they also go to support the ongoing work of Bluegrass Pride. You can donate at bluegrasspride.net/showcase. And I did want to point out as well that we had our first information and member session last month, and we unveiled a membership program. So you watching right now can become a member of Bluegrass Pride. We have a bunch of different levels that are all labeled as different colors of the rainbow. There are different perks at each level, and each one is a sliding scale, and each one is meant to fit you and your needs. So if you don't see a gift level that's quite right for you, you should know that you can be a member at any level. We would love for you to become a member of Bluegrass Pride and to show up for us in that way. Monthly gifts are essential. They're so helpful for us to plan our budgets and also to plan our growth intentionally so that more of the money that we are donated every year can go back into the pockets of musicians and working folks in bluegrass and in roots music. But we're just super excited about that. So I was really excited at the top of the show to get a plug in for our membership program, which is in full swing now. You can also see that on our website. So check it out if you're not already a member. If you already give and you already give at any level that fits any of the membership levels, you are a member of Bluegrass Pride. So thanks for already being a member. And I also wanted to mention too that while you're on the website making a donation or while you're on the website becoming a member, you should check out the Get Involved page because just last month we unveiled at our member session as well that there are volunteer roles now available on our website. We're working on developing our internship program as well. So if you've been looking for an outlet for your volunteerism in the pandemic, if you've been looking for a way to give back to the roots music community or help the roots music community become a more inclusive and more representative place, we would love to have you as part of our organization. We're an all volunteer organization, and this year we hired our first employee. And so we really feel like we're ready to grow and ready to have more volunteers on board. So if you're looking for a volunteer role, I know we've got roles coming like a graphic design volunteer, but we also have like a live stream coordinator volunteer. You could be helping us with Live with Bluegrass Pride, and that would be a really incredible thing. A couple of other things I wanted to note before we get to the music is Porch Pride is coming up in June. Mark your calendars for the entire month of June. Porch Pride will not just be a one weekend event like last year. It will be every weekend in June. We're really excited to have a big roots music centered Pride celebration. And we're really excited for our Juneteenth Pride celebration as well, where we're partnering with Decolonizing the Music Room. So keep your ear to the ground for more news from Porch Pride coming soon. Oh, and Bluegrass Live with Bluegrass Pride is monthly. And so we're going to have another one of these shows on April 18. Mark your calendar on April 18. Our next showcase will be with Ismay, and we're really excited about that as well. And one kind of a sad or bittersweet note before we get started today, a Bluegrass Pride supporter, a Bluegrass Hall of Fame member, somebody who was just on the Grammy Awards over a week, barely a week and a half ago. Our friend JT Gray passed away yesterday, the proprietor and owner of the world famous Station Inn here in Nashville. And we found out moments before this that JT Gray passed away. And JT is my former boss, and JT once, the day that I sat down to ask him if I could work at the Station Inn, he said to me, "Justin, I know a lot of people don't agree with your orientation, but I want to let you know that I care about you and that I'm glad you're here, and it doesn't matter to me." And I just wish there were more people in bluegrass like that. And I wish there were more people in bluegrass like JT Gray. He was not a perfect person, but he was somebody who knew that why the music mattered and didn't care about any of the bullshit around it and just cared about what mattered. And he supported Bluegrass Pride when so many people who are straight up and down bluegrass lovers wouldn't. And he has put his money behind Bluegrass Pride and put his money behind me when so many other people wouldn't. And so I wanted to dedicate today's show to JT Gray. And if you believe in the Station Inn and if you believe in bluegrass, I hope that you'll donate to Bluegrass Pride because JT Gray believed in Bluegrass Pride. And that means a lot to us. And we will miss him, and we will miss him dearly in the bluegrass community. And I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. I literally just found out that this man who is so important to me passed away. So I'm really glad to be able to share this afternoon with y'all and to be with you instead of alone. We're together, and that's what Bluegrass Pride is about, right? It's about how queer folks in roots music always feel alone, and we don't have to. We have each other, and we aren't alone. And JT Gray believed in not feeling alone in bluegrass. That's every time you stepped into the Station Inn and you saw Ann, you saw Lynn, you saw JT, you knew you weren't alone. And so that's what I want to take into today's show, is that thought of JT Gray really knowing what was important in bluegrass. So with that intention, with the intention of carrying forward the mission that JT Gray gave all of us, I'd like to, without further ado, bring on our guests for today's Live with Bluegrass Pride. If you'd all join me in welcoming Lisa Liu and Erik Alvar.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Great to see you.
So glad that you're here. Thank you for doing this.
No, thanks for having us. It's a real honor.
It's an honor to have y'all, and it's an honor to get to meet you because even though Erik and I go back, Lisa, this actually is the first opportunity we've had to meet, and I'm so glad that Bluegrass Pride gives us these connection points.
Definitely. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I feel like what we should start off with in our conversation bit is to connect the dots for our viewers, maybe, and talk a little bit about the connections between swing and hot club jazz, the style that you play, and bluegrass. Because, and I've always said this is something of a joke, but always slightly meaning it. I feel like swing and Django jazz is the bluegrass of jazz. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree. Erik and I have talked about this all the time. I feel swing, Django swing, and bluegrass, they're related. They're cousins of each other. I mean, the fact that acoustic instruments are being played, but I mean, if you think about the history of Django, the style of jazz that we're gonna play, Louis Armstrong was playing in the 1930s. It went to France, and Django heard Louis Armstrong play and instantly just recognized, like, oh my God, mon frère, this is my brother,
Mm-hmm.
Django at the time was in Paris and playing in the cafes called Les Bals. He originally was a banjo player. So there you go. I mean, there's
a great one of my favorite Django factoids. And I think that there's something, to me at least, that ties it together too, that it's the music's are predicated on virtuosity, but not just virtuosity for virtuosity's sake. And it's really about expression through improvisation and through these really like well-known canonical songs. Like there's a body of songs that most of the pickers know too. And so it really feels analogous to bluegrass in a lot of ways to me.
Yeah, very much so. There's definitely within the genre of Django jazz, you have a lot of old melodies from Europe, the songs that were playing in Paris at the time, and then a lot of the American songbook that was happening
Right.
during the 1930s. But it's really interesting, I was saying that, you had Louis Armstrong. It went to Paris, and Django heard it there. And then Django came back to America. You had players like Chet Atkins and, B.B. King listening to Django and really just influencing American music and a lot of the guitar playing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the amazing thing about music. There is that transfer of information and knowledge, and just
Absolutely.
I've been very lucky to be able to play a few. Erik has been able to show me some tunes on bluegrass, and there's a swing, there's a flow to it. And in that way, I feel there is a very similar feeling in playing the music.
Absolutely. And then, with the advent of Clarence White and Tony Rice and like John Carlini's influence and like folks like Beppe Gambetta and Gene Bertoncini and these like very thoughtful, very intentional acoustic jazz players directly influenced this current generation of bluegrass, and especially it's influenced jamgrass. And so I feel like on the surface level, you might think like, oh, like hot club swing, what does that have to do with bluegrass? But as soon as you start unspooling it and connecting the dots, there are so many connections. And Erik, I know you are a bluegrass picker. We met at Leadership Bluegrass, and you've played with many a jazz cross with bluegrass sort of musicians, so you're familiar with that sort of blending as well. But it feels like it felt like to me when we were approaching this show that it would just be so like a perfect fit to have especially when you think about the right hand technique of gypsy jazz, to have that represented on Live with Bluegrass Pride. One thing I wanted to ask you about is your 2019 album, Introducing Lisa Liu. Can you tell us a little bit about it and a little bit about the creative process that went into recording it?
Yeah, that was my first gypsy jazz album, and I have a very interesting musical history. Prior to 2012, I was a post-punk rocker. As you know, Sonic Youth and Radiohead were my favorite bands, and then I got tinnitus. It's years of listening to really loud rock music just blew out my ears, and I had to pivot and I had to switch. And I had a friend come over and show me minor swing, and that was it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is a confluence of all my great loves of the passion of and forward motion of rock and roll. I was also, my first instrument was classical piano, so you had the extended harmonies of Debussy in there, and then also the element of swing, as we were talking about.
Yeah.
And it was a very seamless transition for me, and it was almost fulfilling a childhood dream, because when I first heard jazz, I was 6 years old, and I really wanted to play that music. But at the time, having a very strict Chinese tiger mom, she's like, you have to play classical piano. So later on in life, I've been able to come full circle and play jazz. And it's in my album, Introducing Lisa Liu, that was my first foray into making this kind of music.
That's excellent. I just should make the plug to our audience that if you don't have the album, you should go find it. It's Introducing Lisa Liu. It was released in 2019. And I should also take this opportunity to mention we're asking for a suggested $25 donation today. And those funds go to supporting Lisa. Which side of the camera am I on? Lisa and Erik. So we would really appreciate if you would donate to support them. Now, I did want to ask you about terminology, because in the growing movement of inclusion in this country, and especially in Bluegrass Pride, where we want to have a safer space for everyone to exist, gypsy is a term that is viewed as a slur and as a pejorative. And I wondered if you could talk us through your experiences in the community of jazz players and around, like, because you've actually met Sinti people and met Romani people. I wonder what your experiences are with that term, so we can kind of educate our audience a little bit.
Absolutely. It's really specific. I've met Romani and Manouche people and Sinti people based in the Netherlands and in France. And in those sects of people that I've met, they really embrace the term. This is something that they're very proud of. And in fact, a very great Manouche guitar player said to me, "You play like a gypsy, Lisa." And that was like the best compliment that I ever gotten. So it really depends on the sect of people that you're talking to. For instance, the Manouche and Sinti people, they're totally cool with the term, and they say it proudly. But for others, it is a very sensitive and pejorative term. So proceed. It's something that you just have to kind of feel out, depending on what location and what section of the Romani people that you're talking to. As far as the genre of music,
Yeah.
What it's referred to in Europe and the United States, it's referred to as gypsy jazz, and in that way, it's not considered something that's offensive. But I'm certainly very, very aware of that and sensitive to that. So I'm also totally cool calling it in the style of Django Reinhardt, because
Right.
that's the music that I am playing as well.
Well, I so appreciate that context, because one of the things that, as queer folks and as folks who, Bluegrass Pride, meaning who occupy these spaces between all of these other spaces, it's the first thing you know about anything that do with humans is it's nuanced. And so it's not just paint with a broad brush, but we also understand that the way that whiteness and white supremacy propagates itself often is through the assumption that our experiences are the norm. And so if we're using those terms without understanding the whole context, it can be white supremacist. And so that's why I wanted to ask you, so that we could educate folks a little bit on the nuances between when you're referring to it as something attached to music or when it's used pejoratively, and how for white folks, often we can't tell the difference. And so it takes knowing folks, it takes that personal experience, and especially being plugged into those communities to really know. And so thank you so much for sharing that knowledge with us and sharing your experiences, because that's exactly what we like to hold these spaces for, so we can do that.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. That's,
well.
Yep. Sorry.
I don't want to put off the music anymore. I feel like we should have some tunes. Do y'all want to take it away and play some for us?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
All right, everybody, let's give it up, if you will, with me from your own homes, for Lisa Liu and Erik Alvar playing.
Great. This first tune is going to be called Duke and Dookie, and it was written by Django, and he wrote this first song after he went on tour with Duke Ellington in the United States. And the story goes is that when he came back to Paris, he had two little cats, and he called them Duke and Dookie in honor of Duke Ellington. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. This next tune is called Out of Nowhere, and it's written by the great Johnny Green. All right, so this next song is going to be called Swing 42, and it was another song written by Django, and it's part of kind of his swing series. He wrote a Swing 49, a Swing 42, and a Swing 48, and this one happens to be Swing 42. Thank you guys. Our next song is called Dance Norwegian, and it's based on a classical melody written by Edvard Grieg.
Wow, that is so great. I know I am not the only one clapping right now. Many of us are clapping right now from wherever we are. Excellent stuff. I'm really, really enjoying the music. Thank you so much. And I'm struck by that one, by the use of space. And I think that that's something that strikes musicians a lot when they hear it used really well. But it's something that bluegrass does not necessarily do. And so I wonder, you, as a composer, as an arranger, as an instructor, what are some ways that you encourage folks to lean into using space instead of being afraid of it? Because I think bluegrassers would be afraid of it.
Oh, that's a great question. Eric, do you want to take this one?
Oh man, yeah, it is one of the hardest things to do.
Right? Especially as a banjo player. I'm like,
Yes.
16th notes nonstop.
And I come from the same thing. I started on mandolin, and so as soon as I get to bass, I'm like, oh, less notes, and I think just more listening to the records. Once you really dig in and really just connect with those records, you realize that they are actually leaving a lot of space. They're very tasteful with the notes they choose, and even if these lightning fast solos, there is room for melody and space in there, and that's very important. And it's a challenge. I work on that every day.
Yeah, and it's interesting to visual artists think about it a lot and have to before they even start a composition or a painting, think about what's going to be negative space. But for the most part in music, folks think about how to fill something up. And so I think it's so gorgeous and striking when you hear a song like that y'all just played that uses space so well. And I was really struck by that and wanted to talk about that a little bit. I wanted to ask you, Lisa, about what you're playing. Can you tell us a little bit about the guitar you're playing, and how it differs from a traditional acoustic guitar? And then tell us a little bit about, you also play Santa Cruz guitars, correct?
Yes, I do. I'm an artist ambassador for Santa Cruz Guitar Company.
Nice.
I got hooked up with them a few years back, and they built me an amazing OM steel string with European spruce top and Brazil,
Nice.
Indian rosewood back and sides. And it's as far as like steel string guitars, it's the holy grail for me. They're amazing. But how this differs is that this is a Selmer style guitar, and it was made in Paris at the time that Django was playing in the 1930s. And this particular style of guitar has a petite bouche, which in French means small mouth. And it's kind of counterintuitive. You think it wouldn't be as loud, but having this really concentrated sound hole, it really projects the sound outward like that. And so comparatively, I would say that these guitars are much louder in volume because in the 1930s they didn't have amplifiers.
Yeah.
You know, they just had to play acoustically in the bars that they were playing at, or performance halls. So this particular guitar is made by a French luthier. His name is Jean-Noël Le Breton, and he's a fantastic luthier. It's what he's really very known for is, I don't know if you can kind of see the antique finish. He has this crazy.
It looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it sounds so great. It sounds so, what I love when I talk about like hot club swing and Django jazz being like the bluegrass of jazz, to me, it's the attack of it feels so bluegrass to me. And what I love about the instrument, specifically about the guitars like you're playing today, is that they're so warm, but they're still so punchy, which is such a great combination, to me at least, especially as a banjo player.
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly this was Jean-Noël Le Breton's specialty. He was trained as a classical guitar maker, and so he was able to bring that knowledge into making this guitar. So there's a real balance of warmth and resonance, but then having that attack. I've watched Erik a bunch playing mandolin, and the similarities between the rest stroke picking are between the bluegrass playing that he does and the rest stroke picking that I use in my manouche playing are strikingly similar, eerily similar. And so having that attack, I think, is also another amazing connection and crossover between the two genres of music.
I totally agree, and in the way that that both styles use muting really selectively for those percussive and syncopated bits, like that really feels like a direct translation between styles too.
Totally.
That's also great. I love, like, I could talk about and nerd out about like connecting the dots between different genres forever, especially as we, the internet age, it increasingly is showing us that genre is not really as necessary. I love connecting these dots, and especially because the vernacular art traditions and folkways like this are already connected. They already are, because we're all humans and we're making music in our own ways. Well, let's turn it back to y'all for some more music. Why don't you take us home with a few more songs, and then I'll come back in a little bit and we'll chat a little more and we'll bid everyone adieu. This has been so great. Y'all, let's give it up again. If you haven't donated yet, please do. The money goes to support Bluegrass Pride, as well as Lisa Liu and Erik Alvar, who I'm going to turn it over to right now. Let's hear some more songs.
Great. Thank you guys so much, Justin. This next tune that we're going to play is another jazz standard. It's called There Will Never Be Another You. I got that right? It was from, a lot of jazz standards were taken from movies. I forgot which movie this was from, but again, this was taken from a movie, I believe, in the 1950s. Don't quote me on that, but it has become a popular standard, not only within the manouche style, but also with other jazz styles as well. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Thanks, everybody. This next song is a blues, and it's called Blue Monk, and it was written by one of my favorite jazz composers and pianists of all time, Thelonious Monk. And this is another thing that Manouche Jazz shares with bluegrass. It's the blues. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. everybody. This is going to be our last song of the set, and it's called Daphne. And it was written by Django as well, and Daphne was the super fan. She would hang out at all the gigs, and so Django dedicated this song to her. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Really want to thank Bluegrass Pride for having us, and I believe there's a donate button to donate to Bluegrass Pride, not only supporting this amazing organization, but you'll also be supporting all the artists who get to play on here. So thank you guys so much. I'm Lisa Liu. This is Erik, Alvar, and thank you guys so much for having us. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my gosh, that's so great. Everybody give it up for Lisa Liu and Erik Alvar giving us some excellent hot club swing and Django jazz for our Sundays. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for both of you being here and for being part of our Bluegrass Pride family.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
What an honor and a pleasure. And I'm hoping that we can work together in the future. I'm hoping this is just the beginning of jazz being represented as part of the American roots music that are important to Bluegrass Pride. Thank you so much for sharing your talent and your time. I want to make a call to our audience. Once again, your dollars are what make Bluegrass Pride happen. They're what make Bluegrass Pride possible. You are Bluegrass Pride. So before you go today, become a member if you can. Donate to support Lisa Liu and our Live with Bluegrass Pride shows. If you can, check out the page on our website where you can volunteer. Thank you so much. What if we left everybody with one more song? What if we did that instead of leaving on talking and give everybody an encore? Sound like a plan?
Sounds like a great plan. Okay.
All right, let's leave it to Erik, Alvar, and Lisa Liu to take us home. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Justin Hiltner. I'm the chair of the board of Bluegrass Pride. It's always an honor and a pleasure to join all of you here. We'll see you on April 18th for ISME. Take us home, Lisa and Erik.
You got it. Thank you so much. Set her up. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.